The robots are smart and the process is green, the tidiest factory you've ever seen. They run on sunshine, do not waste a scrap. They create biodegradable, sustainable wrap.
The machines run on sunshine and hum very low. They reuse the water so that our rivers can flow. They catch every scrap so there's nothing to waste, making your goods with food safe taste.
The assembly line, they operate on a strict plan. They deploy less power than anyone can. They borrow electricity as light as a feather. They put the parts of your product all together.
Thank you, Ramu. So, welcome back to Industry Insights by What Packaging. I am Abhay
And I
Avadhani.
am Ramu Ramanathan from What Packaging.
So, today we will discuss how the buzzword sustainability is actually getting transformed into strategies with the help of the Green Report.
That's true.
So, thank you, Ramu, for joining us.
Mm.
And this Green Report that you are sharing with us today, it highlights a significant shift in the Indian print and packaging industry. This mainly involves moving from sustainability being a mere buzzword to the strategic imperative. So, can you elaborate on what is driving this change?
Sure. So, about couple of things. When you say green report, basically, as you're aware, with the Print Week Awards, we have a category called the green category, and in that, innumerable companies, converters, and label converters, flexible factories, even some of the people in the traditional ink on paper businesses
Yeah,
have submitted in their reports, and this of course gets audited and so on,
yeah,
and then based on that we have extrapolated some basic insights into what has been transpiring.
yes.
So I mean, we have loosely called it green report, but the idea is to also share some of our insights into the transformations in various factories across the country.
Of course.
So I think basically a couple of things which can be called a cornerstone for sustainability. One is how to make sure that sustainability also has some kind of business resilience.
True, yeah.
And then, of course, what kind of commitment to all these, jargon words,
Hmm.
especially ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance principles.
Hmm.
And then, thirdly, which I think is most crucial, is how these factories across the country
Yeah.
can be a proactive and be aligned with local
Hmm.
operations.
Hmm.
As you're aware, a majority of them are dealing with top A-list brands or they're in exports.
True,
So
yeah.
obviously they have to ensure that there's stringent global standards. And so I think our main aim, even with the green awards, is,
Hmm.
and now with the green report, is how can we have sort of quicker conversations, greater transparency, and some amount of accountability across the board.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
Transparency, I think that is the key.
right.
But how are label factories and packaging converters,
Mm,
how are they demonstrating this commitment
right.
on a strategic level?
So again, multiple things. We, as you're aware, we had the awards, the Print Week Awards in Mumbai on 13th October. We had also, hosted a sort of interesting closed door confabulation on 14th
Yes.
October. Some interesting conversations there. I think it was 2 to 3 hours of sort of,
99 minutes.
yeah, 99 minutes. Yes. Yes. So I think what we were looking is what are the global sustainability initiatives? What is
Yes.
happening elsewhere? How many of those India is adopting, and how quickly are we doing this?
Hmm.
Then, for example, things like GHG emission reports, and
Hmm. Hmm.
again, what kind of sustainability reports do some of these organizations need to
Hmm. Hmm.
put together, and
Yeah.
what is the sort of method in the madness? And some
Yeah.
of the companies who were present in that room, and some of whom who've been participating with our entire awards program and the green program, obviously put some of this data out there in the public platform, which is fantastic because it also means wonderful conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, one of the interesting things is what kind of third party for key indicators,
Hmm.
for example, global reporting initiatives and so on. And then,
Hmm.
of course, external audits. I mean, we were there at the Cosmoprof show,
Yeah.
from 4th to 6th of December. I think about of the 13 to 14 players whom we met from the label and packaging converting space, almost I think 5 to 6 of them are EcoVadis
Yeah.
certified, at
That's true.
various levels, platinum, gold, so on.
Yeah.
Some of them even have SMETA kind of audits. So the idea is to understand what these audits are, what they entail,
Hmm.
and then what is the kind of, because one is just announcing these programs,
Hmm.
and the second is of course the implementation,
Hmm.
and so that I think is what we have been trying to map with these green reports.
Yeah. So also we have seen something known as Science-Based Targets Initiative (SBTI) we call
That's
it.
true.
From a packaging lens again,
Mm.
so what can be an example of a validated target for the industry?
Right. So again, there are multiple, but I'll also share. Sometimes we also tend to sort of confine ourselves only into the spectrum or the vertical and industry that we are part of. But
Yeah.
for example, there are interesting lessons to learn, say, from the book industry.
Oh,
And the book print firms, again, I keep saying this is one of India's best kept secrets, that we've seen a massive boom in books and book production, especially post COVID.
true. Yeah.
And the kind of book expose, the kind of book consumption, the kind of book reading. So
Hmm.
there's a company in Chennai which is you could call them a mid-sized book print firm,
Hmm.
but have taken fantastic initiatives in some of the green, and some targets that they have, and extremely ambitious.
Okay.
So one of the things that this company called Multivista,
Venu sir.
Venusar is there, but there's also Krishna and there's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
Karthik, and it's of course a family which
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
been around for quite some time. So they have set these very ambitious validated targets. It's called the SBTI. So this is Science Based Target Initiative.
Yeah.
And basically, I think again a couple of things which we need to understand is that how even a mid-sized firm
Hmm.
can embark on this green journey, because for a lot of people this seems extremely daunting.
Yeah.
The rules, the notifications, again the targets. So sometimes it's absolutely mind-boggling. So Multivista Global for me is a fantastic example of how they began with this journey,
Hmm.
how they implemented it with an external consultant, how they had the entire information be percolating into the organization, and right from top,
Wow.
the top hierarchy
Yeah.
to on the factory floor. So I think a couple of things that they did. One was, of course, this massive reduction both in scope 1 and scope 2 and I think the kind of targets they've set for 2030.
Hmm.
And this journey, of course, began prior to COVID, the years prior to COVID, and they have sustained it in a absolutely, fabulous and enthralling way. So I think two things. One is to have someone within your organization who's a sustainability champion,
True. Yeah.
who then ensures that what happens. So you're taking care of the macro, but you're also ensuring you take these micro steps and look at it very, very
Yes.
meticulously. And then most importantly, a sort of organizational commitment to any kind of climate action
Hmm. Hmm.
or even factory action program
Hmm.
within your own factory premise. And so every single book that goes out of, say, Multivista is obviously it sort of ticks all the green
Yeah. Yeah.
boxes, which is, I think, what makes this entire project in the case of Multivista such a fantastic one.
Amazing. Yeah. And like you mentioned, these climate based actions from company will come through people like sustainable champions, sustainability champions,
Mm.
like you have mentioned before.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So now looking at the operational side of it,
G.
so how is the focus on measurable reduction?
Hmm.
How is this translating into new technology investment?
Okay, so I think this again is something that we keep hearing, green versus PNL. So I
Yeah.
think one thing that is across the board, at least with the people who, we are been having these conversations, is that technology investment is no longer just based on PNL.
Yeah.
And that sustainable manufacturing practices is sort of key to,
Hmm.
almost everything. So heavy investments we are seeing in renewable energy,
Hmm.
so be it captive solar plants. So again, you have innumerable companies doing this and doing it successfully. I mean, you are aware of, I think, two of them, Ani Graphics up
Oh
north, yeah,
yes.
Greater Noida. I think you touched upon a couple of their, label samples in the
Yes.
last
Yes.
episode. And Ketan Corrugates, you know Ayush quite well, I think. So,
Ayush Khetan. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then, of course, there's this year's Print Week Company of the Year, Manipal Technologies, and fantastic example of efficiency. So again, it's a township in coastal Karnataka where you come from, your state. But what they do with the wind energy usage, it's
Hmm.
can you guess the number? How high can it be? Can you just hazard a guess?
80%,
Yeah, so it's
85%.
about 92.3%. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So it's impressive. It's kind
Wow.
of
Yeah.
impressive. So again, lots of these kind of initiatives. There are many more examples. I mean, it's not to say that only these companies are the ones, but innumerable other organizations. Yeah.
So these were the examples of renewable resources. So in terms of energy efficiency, what are the other measures that you can see being
Right. So
adopted?
again, I think generally speaking, presses and whether the German presses, Japanese, Swiss,
Yeah.
even the American ones, etc. What you're finding is that the newer crop or the newer breed or the newer variety of machines that are coming in are obviously replacing the older machinery,
Yeah.
but in terms of just being efficient, energy efficient, just I think 20% better, 30% better. So
Wow.
again, recently we were at a plant here in Bhiwandi, and we
Hmm.
saw an 8-color machine running, and straight away about 20% less energy in
That's
just
great.
under in usage, overall, and then consumables and all
Hmm.
that kind of thing. Then today, if you walk into factories, once upon a time, I remember, this is again not from the packaging industry, but I remember walking into the Hindu factory in Coimbatore
Yeah.
and just being completely impressed. I didn't even realize I was inside the midst of a newspaper factory. And because just the kind of green practices that they had implemented,
Yeah.
LED lighting, installing variable frequency drives,
Yeah.
then, water effluents, so many things.
Hmm.
And again, what happens, I think we again look at all these big green projects as big grand projects,
Yeah.
like blockbuster, but it's actually the detailing, as Voltaire used to say, it is the little things that make it everything.
True. That's
So
true.
so in the Hindu factory, there was this sort of thing of putting the right walls, making
Hmm.
sure that,
Hmm.
so now what is happening is that something what I saw probably a decade and a half ago in that Hindu factory, I'm seeing across the country.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether I travel to Baddi, whether I travel to Indore, whether I travel to Daman Silvas, that is happening.
Hmm.
So I think basically, sorry, I'm going on and on,
No.
but
No.
basically, energy audits, and then to identify and rectify the weaknesses in your plants, and that is
Okay.
happening in
Yeah.
a jiffy. And I think that's the key
Yeah.
ultimately. Yeah,
Yeah. And now you spoke about operations, operational efficiency, and
correct.
energy efficiency.
Mm,
But one thing which our industry always wants to talk about is circular economy.
that's true.
Yeah. So in terms of circular economy,
Mm,
what innovations are we seeing in terms of waste and material management?
mm,
And this again, as we can talk about plastics. So
yes.
what do you see in this aspect?
So, of course, I think the crux of the matter is attempts being made to reduce plastic, and we can go on and on. I know you had helped me out tremendously with this huge CII sustainability award, because the
Yeah.
kind of entries, be it rigid plastic, be it flexible laminates, I mean,
Yeah.
you name it, PET,
Yes.
etc. So again, innumerable such
Hmm.
instances,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was kind of fascinating to see the kind of work that's going behind.
Hmm.
Even something like laminates,
Yeah.
what is being done, and across so ambitious projects that are being done, and of course, many of the companies, be it the A-list brands, be it the regional brands, be it the Indian brands, are also sort of trying to ensure that within their factory space they have something called no plastic zones.
Yeah.
So again, during PacMac, when we were moving around together, there was this interesting example of how many companies are switching to packaging tapes. So
Okay.
that is from
Hmm.
plastic to paper,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then of
Hmm.
course replacing gloss matte lamination with aqueous varnish.
Hmm.
And again, what happens is, to the listener of our little conversation, it might seem like small baby steps,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
if you actually do a kind of back of the envelope calculation, we are talking of anything between 15,000 kgs of plastic.
Massive.
Yeah, 15,000 kgs of plastic, and of course, all this can be scaled up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then, of course, you see, big daddies like the ITC,
Yeah.
who are into paper and paperboard. They're innovating with product ranges like OxyBlock, BioSeal.
Yeah.
So basically, offering some kind of plastic-free, recyclable, biocompostable
Yeah.
solutions. PaperX this year was, I think, an eye-opener,
Okay.
which just concluded in Delhi.
Hmm.
So again, the kind of alternatives you have, biodegradable, paper-based alternatives to plastic.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I mean, the question is again, where to look,
Yeah.
and then of course, how quickly can you adapt it into your own
For
factory
sure.
environment? Yeah,
Yeah, and ITC, as you mentioned, they are always in the
yeah,
forefront of green
correct, correct,
products and
correct.
green production.
Absolutely, and I think it's also the others,
Yeah, yeah,
TNTL, JK,
of
Imami.
course.
I mean, Naini is
Hmm.
rolled out the factory in December. So again, I mean, there are many things that are transpiring. I think somewhere where, as an industry, and even people like us have probably not done our role adequately, is to make sure this message has gone across to
Hmm.
brands
Hmm.
and of course end consumers who are
Yeah.
actually picking up these daily items.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And these companies, they produce the final packaged product, final packaging of the product.
That's right.
And but there are also other things which are involved, like other raw materials and resources like water. So
Yes.
what do you see in that aspect?
Again, lots. So there's sort of widespread commitment to using sustainably sourced materials. So FSC is a kind of a default mode now, by and
Yeah, yeah.
large. And in between, I think there was volatility and this whole supply chain issue with
Hmm.
various coming and going of paper. But broadly, FSC, as you know, Forest Stewardship Council, it's a
Hmm.
certified grade of paper and paperboard. So that again is something that a majority of the brands sort of opt for. On the waterfront, I think now almost every factory that we walk into has some avatar of a sewage treatment plant, STP.
Okay.
So basically non-potable water usage, and then they deploy that for their harvesting and
Yeah, yeah.
green landscaping, etc., using it for other kind of things like their washrooms and so on.
Hmm.
And then also, interestingly enough, in some pockets of India, India in not everywhere is. I mean, there are places which are rain deficit.
Hmm.
So having things like rain harvesting systems and then recharging groundwater. Again, in the outskirts of Bangalore, we had come across a factory where they've actually raised the ground, the level of the groundwater.
Okay.
So these are again, very, very solid initiatives. You
Hmm.
see, of course, what's transpiring in the factory. The P&Ls are extremely robust. These are, of course, fabulous initiatives, but these kind of things are, truly heartwarming because I think it's a quiet revolution
That's
which is
true.
happening, and of course, we don't celebrate it
Hmm.
adequately.
Hmm.
Yeah. And in addition to all this, of course, firms are optimizing their supply chain.
Hmm.
So that again, that whole thing which you as a packaging technologist probably know more than me is to locate your factory closer to a mother factory,
Yeah, of
in that,
course.
so location of that closer to suppliers and customers.
Yeah.
Almost every sort of what does one say? Print edition of what packaging or e-bulletin, we are talking of a plant which is coming closer to a Unilever factory or a Nestle or a
Yes,
P&G
yes.
factory. So all this sum total, everybody is innovate cognizant of the fact
Yeah.
that you reduce carbon footprint from logistics.
Yeah. So if I'm opening a factory, all my vendors will be close by in the
Yeah, yeah,
vicinity.
absolutely,
I need not,
absolutely.
yeah.
Be about 1,000 miles away.
Of course, of
Yeah, yeah,
course.
yeah.
So now we are moving to social and governance, social responsibility and governance,
Yeah,
SNG,
yeah.
as you call it. So what standards are ensuring these ethical and responsible practices for business?
So again, innumerable, and I think this is we probably again need a separate podcast to just sort of deep dive into those kind of things. But
Yes.
you have things like Smeta, you have SEDEX, you have
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
So I won't get into things, but you have the European standards, you
Yeah.
have the Nestle standards, etc. But I think there are broadly four pillars which anybody
Hmm.
who's listening to this should be aware of. One is environment. The second is safe and hygienic working conditions. Again, you
Yes.
can see a massive improvement in that in a majority of the at
Hmm.
least the top packaging players.
Hmm. Hmm.
Management systems within and code implementation.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and then of course all the usual ISO standards which are
Yeah.
there for safety. Then again, continuous training. Then
Hmm.
again, display. This is again becomes something kind of interesting within the factory premise, be it in your stocking warehousing
Yeah.
part of the operation or even elsewhere in the dispatch kind of a thing. So this is basically what we call in the trade as material safety data sheets.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, we've come across interesting examples because India is a complex country,
Hmm. Hmm.
many languages and so on.
True.
So a lot of it is very interestingly done with color coding. So
Hmm.
then you
Hmm.
know exactly what is that, and vertical lines and horizontal
Yeah.
yellow lines. So you know exactly which material is where and
Yeah.
where there is a kind of an error. So there's always a method to ensure that in that chaos of that factory there is a red flag, and the moment that red flag is noticed,
Yeah.
everybody knows what to do next kind of
Yeah.
a thing, and that shift has transpired. So basically I think there is this whole macro that people know that they have to do this. Earlier I think the problem used to be how much of it is actually trickling down onto the
Yeah.
shop
Yeah.
floor. Now I think that part of it, people are coming up with inventive ways
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
ensuring that this gets translated.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Mm.
But how are these principles driving product innovation?
Yeah. So focus is on disruption through design, and this again, every kind of conversation that even we are having with some of the big design agencies when we
Hmm.
do the Print Week Awards or any of our
Yeah.
other knowledge sessions, we keep hearing. So I think there are two things: one is innovation, and the other is lightweighting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then, of course, within innovation, you have what I think Ketan Kauryu case had done, and many of us were very impressed. Was those water-resistant beds made out of
Yes. Yes.
corrugation board,
Yes.
or creating kind of international premium labels that meet these green standards.
Hmm.
So this sort of sustainability green push, I think, is is sort of crucial. And
Hmm.
again, I mean, I think what we are hearing a lot from the people who are actually manufacturing these labels and boxes and, what have you, stand-up pouches, is that designers have to be aware of two things. One is that a lot of designing is science and they
Yes,
need to follow the process. And
of
the
course.
second thing is that in the name of innovation, you don't over-engineer. So
Hmm.
these are, I think, two big mantras going out. Again, easier said than done.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah,
course. So
yeah,
on
yeah.
one hand, we have the topic of reduction and minimalization. And
Correct.
on the other hand, we have the innovation, which is
Mm, mm.
asking us to do more.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
But Abhay, I want to ask you something. I mean, you've been grilling me left, right, and
Oh.
center. This is about greenwashing,
Okay.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, there are so many green claims. You've been attending so many of this, and there is the risk of greenwashing, and almost everybody who's anybody is kind of part of it, and we are bombarded as editorial. So,
Yeah.
uh, two things. One is what are the sort of guidelines for firms to ensure their sustainability claims are credible?
Okay.
What do you say?
I think the key is companies have to be specific,
Okay.
and accuracy and specificity. I think these
Yeah.
two are the keys.
Okay.
So all claims that the company is claiming to be, they must
Hmm.
be accurate, fair, and they must not omit material facts,
Hmm.
because highly specific assertions are always better than bold claims.
I see.
Yeah. So they must also ensure that claims are accurately representing the entire life cycle of a product or a
Hmm.
service.
So sometimes just getting hold of all this data is extremely
Yeah,
daunting.
yeah.
No? So vigilance is paramount, but how to be vigilant is also equally
Yeah, yeah,
crucial.
of
Yeah.
course, of course.
And any major warning sign you have for potential greenwashing claim? I mean, anything you would want to add to what you already shared with us?
I think the major warning sign is claiming features or benefits that are already necessary standards.
Hmm.
Uh, Special environment benefits. So I
Hmm.
think firms must commit to full training and disclosure.
Okay.
This ensures that all staff involved in sales and marketing, they
Hmm.
understand green claims,
Hmm.
and that buyers are signposted to additional information which may
Hmm.
affect their purchase decision.
Makes a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
again, vigilance,
Yeah,
vigilance,
yeah, of course.
vigilance. Yeah. And you have to be attentive all the time. No? Yeah. So as you can see, Abhay, thank you so much. That was interesting. But so there are, I think, multiple aspects. There's development, there's strategies, and of course, in the the PNL is dominates a lot of our conversation because the
Yeah,
balance sheet is
definitely.
and margins big problem.
Yeah.
But green initiatives always, and I think somewhere some of the points in the green report highlights that. Yeah.
Yes,
So
definitely.
I think thank you so much for agreeing to
Tha-
sort of articulate some of the points. I mean, we have covered about I think 1% of what we have to share out there. Yeah. So
Thanks to
thank
you
you.
so much, Ramu, for this insightful overview of the Green Report. I
Yes.
think we got to listen to a
Get it.
lot of it.
Mm. Pleasure,
Yeah.
Abhay. Mm.
So, thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for more such insights by Industry Insights by What Packaging.
Super.